And while I've got a high CPU warning, I believe we are live on all of the spaces. Welcome to the Tattoo Weekly number 57. It's Monday morning at 11. I'm Gabe Ripley with Jake. We're down Lauren, unfortunately, for the week. Hopefully everything works out great for that. But yeah, we're here. I'm here live at Needle Jig Tattoo Supply in one of the new conference rooms. And we're going to beam in with Mark Lascarbo shortly. Jake, how you doing this morning?
Great, man. How was your weekend?
It was fantastic. I've been hammering through websites and mostly websites, actually, which is kind of neat. So yeah, I don't know if you know Tommy Helm, but he's did he win Ink Master? I don't know if he won Ink Master. He's on a bunch of the different shows. Point is, he's an awesome artist, and I'm excited to hammer out more websites.
Nice.
That's what I did all week.
It just worked with him. Yeah, I know you helped with a few little bugs we were having with some of our sales pages and things on the new Fireside site over the weekend. Got all that stuff worked out. So if anyone bought a course from Fireside and struggled over the weekend, that all that should be dealt with by now. So that was a little
as we're saying, sometimes shifting domain names is needs a little bit more testing, right? And but the good news is once we hammer through I think we're done with the heavy lifting.
Seems like
new firesidetattoo.com is live and running, and I mean, I guess it's running enough. There's people that are crawling through all the pages and hitting the videos and stuff. So
yeah, it's cool. I'd never used all the different tools to see where people go and how long they hang out in one spot and all of that. I see how people get really into a lot of that data, when it comes to SEO or marketers, and we both follow Neil Patel, and people dive so deep into like how people behave online. And it's always kind of gone over my head, but seeing some of the tools that you've laid out for me to, to kind of be able to tell what people are doing and what they care about and what they want, it's like, man, it's pretty interesting. You can get into it.
I think we've got maybe 2 months, maybe 3, and then we'd be able to like send the site over to somebody like Neil and be like, okay, now we want critique. Still maybe 1 or 2 low-hanging fruits. But this is just the intro. So
right.
I'm Gabe from Tattoo Now. We're, as you could maybe imagine, a computer geek. TattooNow.com.
Yeah, I'm Jake from the Fireside Tattoo Network. You can go to firesidetattoo.com. You can also find us on YouTube. We stream this out every Monday on our channel, along with Reinventing the Tattoo and Tattoo Now. So give us a follow.
Okay, it's a great time to let us know where you're beaming in from in the chat rooms so that we know this is working. Or you could tag some friends, some tattooers that might be interested in watching.
Yeah.
And
have a special guest today, huh?
What was that?
So we have a special guest today.
We have a special guest. It started snowing last Friday, so I was like, oh shit, well, maybe I'll come up to Needle Jig on Monday. And then I was like, Gabe, well, part of it is I have my new schedule calendaring system. So when I really thought about it, I was like, Gabe, you have a conflict here. You can't schedule a full day over some of your videos. But then it was very clear. I was like, wait, what if I beam in straight from Needle Jig?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me I'm trying to just double check. Is this working on all the spots? Are you able to
it looks good to me on the Fireside, YouTube. We got a handful of people just starting to kind of roll in. I think people are used to our lack of consideration of a start time, so they just show up 10 minutes later.
Well, I think we got it this time. So if you're beaming in, you can always check out the podcasts and the replays. And the Reinventing the Tattoo and Fireside Tattoo podcasts. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to double check on the Facebooks because we do stream out on the Facebooks. Look at that. And as long as we're going, we can start beaming in with Mark. Yeah, there's more people watching now.
Yeah, we just got our first comment here. Good morning from Utah, from Closer Forte. Oh, and Anthony's in. Good morning, Anthony. Yeah, Anthony's part of our Inside Fireside Tattoo Club, but he hasn't been jumping in much yet. He's probably too busy tattooing.
Fantastic. Okay, well, let's bring in Mark here. Is that on? Mark, do you know how to click the buttons? Okay, I'm going to ask to unmute.
All right.
And ask to start video.
Good morning.
Good morning, kids. How you doing today?
Great. It's a nice setup. You've got yourself in the actual podcast room and then pushed Gabe over under some fluorescent lights somewhere.
Yeah, he usually smells like weed, so I put him in the other building.
Right.
Hey, I'm just happy it's not the basement.
All right.
He's in one of the new conference rooms. I've been building this new sort of setup here because I want to start doing a lot more interaction with people. And Gabe's helped me learn this a little bit over the last few years. The video end, the content creation end, and just learning to be human with a camera in your face, because it's not as easy as a lot of people think it is. So now that I'm getting comfortable with it, I'm gung-ho, ready to go and start interacting with people a little bit more, especially considering the current climate and not be able to get out and do it in person the way I used to. So
Yeah.
I love your space too, man. That's awesome, Jake. That's a great art space, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's a little sunroom that's just right off to the outside of my house. And it's funny, when we first moved here, I had at my old place, I had a full painting studio that I had built in the backyard, and it was 2 or 3 times the size of this. And of course we moved here and I didn't have the luxury of building another space, but I found that I like the tighter space. I can't fill it up with as much, and it just has light from everywhere, which is great.
Yeah, looks like a lot of windows. So, I mean, natural light is everything. I'm in one of the only rooms in the building that gets no light whatsoever, which makes it optimal for filming, because I can create all my own lighting. So,
yeah,
But
that's
it's
the one
depressing.
thing, right? That's the one thing that is the problem here, is I kind of have to be particular about the times of day that I record, whether it's podcasting from here or just doing intros or little clips. I have, for the most part, I'm good, but I have a short window, from 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock till maybe 3, where the light just so harsh on my face and there's no way to get away from it. Gabe and I were recording a little bit yesterday and we ran right into that time. So I'm like back and forth trying to find where I cast a shadow on myself,
Ducking the sunlight like a vampire.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's like, both of you have some pretty sweet tech setups for tattoo people.
Yeah.
Mark, you want to show off your camera too, or?
Well, camera 2 is just an overhead, so that would be what you see down here. If I want to start doing a little product demonstration or anything like that, I've got a distant behind the scenes camera over there.
Nice.
So it gives a little bit of a wide shot, a little bit of fun like that. And then I've got
thank you, Detroit.
and I've also got another one set up where I can do like a screenshot, so I can share my screen on my computer. So we get that infinity thing going on there between you and the monitor, the conference room TV behind you. But yeah, it's something where I can be more productive on my own. So I can physically be in the machine shop creating a new part, which I'm really excited about, some new stuff I'm working on. And I can make something, and while I got the energy, I can come into this already pre-existing space, film a quick little tidbit on it, or if I'm really excited, I could just press a button, go live on Facebook, YouTube, or any of the other, channels. So it's, I mean, yeah, I usually have a tendency to go deep into the rabbit hole once I find them. So. But
yeah,
it's fun, man. It's fun. It's challenging, but it's cool.
Yeah, that's a great setup. What are you using as a switcher there to hook up between your cameras? Is that a A10 Mini, like a Black Magic thing, or is it?
Yeah, it's I got the A10 Mini Pro ISO version.
That's what I have as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can actually record all angles, all audio. I'm running 3 Rode cameras right now, or excuse me, 3 Rode mics on each camera right now too. So the redundancy in audio in case something, something's not plugged in, or something's picking up RF interference or static on the lines or whatever. It's pretty hard to not walk away with enough usable material to get what I need. So
that's what I've found. Just build in as many redundancies as you can, however many audio tracks you can get. Like all of my cameras have 2 SD card slots, so if I am recording to SD, the great thing about this ATEM Mini Pro ISO is that you can just plug a hard drive into the back and it records and timestamps all the separate tracks together. So that's really nice. You know, something that, not to get too techy on everybody, which I guess that's kind of what you both you guys are doing. But one thing that I need to troubleshoot a little bit, just out of nowhere, my ATEM, it still shows up if I want to Zoom or OBS or use any of the streaming platforms, but the screens are black. Like it shows up as a camera option, but when I click it, it's just a black screen, no matter what. And I don't know if it's some type of issue that I'm having with the software, I guess on the ATEM. I'm not sure, but I need to take the time and troubleshoot it, because when I have to do things like this, where we're actually live, I unplug this main camera from the ATEM and just plug it directly into my laptop, because otherwise it won't. Yeah. So I don't know what, there's so much information on their forums, but it's something that I need to put on my to-do list and troubleshoot it.
I started, researching a lot before I bought it. And right now I really only use this for some Zoom calls, basically. I recorded an unboxing of this just so people could get a clue as to, how easy it was to set up from a guy like me, had no experience with it. And then I'm having a little bit of trouble myself with the idea that I have my hard drive plugged into my laptop. So what I think is I can use this with Zoom, with the multi-camera setup, but I can't record to this because the USB-C is being occupied by the line to my laptop.
Right.
But then I can have OBS running in the background.
You can record
and I can
there.
record through OBS. I'm just not going to get all the ISO. I'm not going to get each individual channel, but I will get the event as it went out. So I didn't set it up that way today because I'm just trying to figure it out still, and I'd rather not screw things up 5 minutes before you guys want to go live. I was trying to talk Gabe into putting some software on his computer. He's like, no, maybe next time. So.
Yeah.
For a change, it's taken 30 years to be like, actually, maybe we shouldn't put software on the computer 5 minutes before going live.
Right.
So now, Mark, one of the inspirations that you have for this setup is you've got a project you've been working on. I don't know if people have been following the channel, but you've got like over 8 hours, I think, of how to design or your process of designing a rotary tattoo machine.
Yeah, I got about 15 hours up on YouTube right now. I sat down last January and decided I wanted to, it was a little bit still into the slow season, and I was feeling creative. So I sat at my computer and I wanted to start to design a new machine, because I haven't designed a machine that I brought to market in a while. So I sat down and just for giggles, I popped on OBS and started recording myself as I was talking myself through the process of designing this new machine. And I kind of wanted to document it. And it started out just sort of as a fun little experiment. And then as I got further into the time, I realized, what, people might be interested in this. So I started to edit it to just sort of stick it out on YouTube. So yeah, there's about 15 hours of me sitting in front of my computer in my CAD CAM software, which is, I'll show you that in a minute. But anyways, basically me sitting in front of my computer, and it kind of sucks because what would have taken me 3 to 4 hours to develop on my own, if I wasn't trying to be audible with my thought process and narrate my way through it, took me about 15 hours to get the basics down and everything. But I figured, it was time well spent. And I know there's nerdy people out there that, like me, that like to see how everything's made, not just in the tattoo world. I go down all kinds of rabbit holes on any manufacturing process out there. For years, I would do anything I could to get in and tour any manufacturing facility just to see, what the modern techniques were, or what the obsolete techniques were that I wasn't aware of. I might be able to implement to solve a problem I have. So I'm gonna figure out how to get into my software here, Gabe. I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Let me
So
make sure you can.
Yeah, is that up there now? Or
yeah, it is. Gabe, you want to highlight him? So we awesome.
So basically, this is the software I use. It's Fusion 360. It's actually an awesome but still fairly economical CAD CAM design software. And this is the machine that I've been working on just in my spare time, which I don't have a lot of, and going to be coming to market with that here fairly soon. but not trying to sell you all, but let me see here real quick what I can, where's my cover? Can't read my own text, it's too small here. I think the cover is in here, so it's just a simple direct drive. It's nothing too fabulously, you know, it's nothing earth shattering, but I wanted people to see what was involved with designing even a simple concept modern tattoo machine. So you've got your motor here. That's a Fallhaber motor, one that a lot of builders are using. Basically, we've got a pusher bar mount ring, and we've got a cam weight, which isn't balanced yet. I won't be able to balance that properly until I have one completed. You know, but I mean, it's basic. There's a simple collet configuration. You can get a sort of a cutaway design here as to what the whole thing looks like. And let's see, let me turn on the center of mass here. I believe I have this in here. So let's see, is that one or one of these? Come on, Art, where is it?
And now, once you have the plans, you end up programming the machine to carve it out, or
yeah,
or do you just feed it into the
basically.
file?
Okay, so then when you get into this end, I mean, you really get down some rabbit holes here, but
it's the breakdown of each element.
yeah, it gets pretty damn wonky. Let's try to open up this one here if I'm not going to take up too much computer resource.
I definitely remember when I got through the first hour or two, realizing, you know, I'm sure that in a couple of years, people are going to come up to you and be like, man, I you know, built a tattoo machine after watching all those videos. Here it is. You know,
yeah. All right, this is loading real slow here. Oh, here we come. All right, so this is part of a much larger setup inside the machine, but this is what's called a tombstone, this giant square block here. And each one of these attachments here is different vise setups. So these are dovetail vices. They hold raw blocks of material in. This one here, I built that vise from scratch, and that was so that I could hold two items on this side as opposed to just one. So basically,
so the black part is like the mount, and then the pieces parts are getting built hanging off.
Right. And if you could picture off on this side here, there's a giant wheel. Okay, it's called a rotary, and so this whole thing will spin in this direction here. Okay, and the tools come in from the top to cut the pieces away. So each of these parts can be machined from virtually any angle other than the angles that you know, are obstructed by the block. But let me see if I can show you one here real quick. All right, so this one here.
So that signifies like a block of metal.
Right. So the shaded part here is the raw block of metal, and the actual piece part you see inside would be the part that would be left over. So this is going to be a simulation, and basically, if you could picture this, the machine tool's always in this orientation coming down, and then this part rotates around. But the simulation, you would get dizzy trying to watch that. So in this part, in the simulation, it holds the block material still, and you'll just see the tool oriented around the around the parts. So let's see, I'll speed it up a little bit here so it's not too crazy slow. But machines come in, they just whittle away like this tool will come in and whittle away the bulk of the material. Then you just come in over time with finer and finer tools to do the more detail oriented stuff. So, but yeah, you can see it's getting in, and it's going to just basically do what we call a rough pass. So it breaks it down to its rough shape, but it leaves let's say a thin skin of metal over the parts, which you do at a bit of a slower pace with a finer tool to get the final look and the finish that you want. So minimize the amount of polishing and stuff you need to do after the fact. So now here it's going to come in, and you're going to see something kind of crazy. I'm going to change the angle here for a minute, because you're going to see, I don't know if I haven't already, but the tool is going to come in at such an angle, and it's such a long tool to come in at this angle to bore this hole. Oh, no, never mind. That pole's already bored.
Oh,
Darn it. I missed
okay.
that because I was talking.
I think I saw it happen. Yeah, I was wondering,
Yeah.
the angle of the angle of the bit changed really drastically and came in.
Yeah. And if
To
you
the
want to
side.
talk about a butt clenching moment, you're talking
Oh, yeah.
like, hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of tools, sliding past this whole attachment, which is worth about 15, 20 grand. And if anything collides, the truth is it's probably got a $20,000 repair ticket attached to it or something
Oh,
like that.
oh,
So always testing things out real slowly. But you can see that even with the animated software here, I can get, and the representative finish on this would
mhm.
be pretty darn close, but you can see all aspects of this thing from every angle are
Yeah,
basically done there. So go back to this camera here,
yeah,
and
that's really cool.
let me grab it. All right. So I have a close to finished prototype here, and so this is the machine basically that you see. I don't have a tiny LED key with me, so I can't open it up for you right now. I wasn't thinking ahead of time. But this, focus, uh, this is the machine right now with the motor, everything included, the RCA and the wiring's not in it. But this is about a perfect 2 ounces right now.
Oh,
And then I've got a grip, which I've been working on production to, which is just it's a ratcheting style
okay. Mhm.
click grip there. That's that I've had ready to go for a year, and I just haven't gone into production because I wanted to have a machine to attach it to.
Right.
So that's just been sitting on the shelf waiting to go into final production. But yeah, so that's kind of
That's
where
super
I'm at
cool.
these days, and I'm trying to do this 100% in-house. So I'm actually currently building an anodization station now. So I will be anodizing all my own aluminum in-house. I've done it before on a prototyping basis, but I just spend a bunch of time and energy putting together a full setup where I'll be able to do all this stuff in batch quantities. And again, my goal is small batch quantities. I'm not looking to have everybody in the country using my equipment. That's way too many people to please in my world, and
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
my goal. I really just I like the aspect of creating. I love creating tattoos. Love creating devices to make tattooing easier for others, things like that. And for me, it's about creation, and I'm glad it pays the bills and keeps my family taken care of. But for the most part, I've never looked to set the world on fire. So, but
Yeah.
And now you had some specific goals in mind with the machine too, right? To keep it as simple as possible or to remove as many points of friction.
I mean, it's a direct drive rotary. It's literally about the simplest, most efficient machine that you can build. Now, by efficiency doesn't mean it's the best. It doesn't have all the perks. It doesn't have give. It doesn't have a lot of features people are looking for, adjustable stroke length and all that built into it. But by keeping it simple, it is physically, it's got the highest efficiency of any tattoo machine out there. Now, my goal was to build it with a minimalistic approach. So I wanted to really use only what was needed, strip away any extra material that didn't need to be in there. So that reduces the weight, that reduces, it just reduces a lot of headaches. But basically, yeah, just strip it down to the bare bones, bare essentials. I have a much more complicated machine that I am working on too. It will be a pen machine coming out in the future, but that's something that's way more complicated. And I probably won't share the proprietary information on building that one. But this whole series I did is just gives people a little bit of a tiny peek as to what goes on into manufacturing. Now, other companies out there have manufacturing teams. They have engineers. They have, full teams of people that sit down and design, and then they have full machine shops with shop managers and operations people and stuff like that. Here at Needle Jig, it's all me. It's my brain. It's my brain, my concepts. When I find the time to sit in front of the computer, refine something, and then between the running of the business and everything else I got to do, finding time to get into the machine shop and build, prototype them, which takes honestly hundreds of hours. You know, even I started this last January. It is late December, and it's only at this stage. If I had a team, I could have knocked it out in 4 months. But you know, this will be readily available early next year in small quantities. I'm probably only going to do about 20 of them to start with, so I'm not looking to, you know, set the world on fire. I'm gonna get about I'll get about a half a dozen into my friends' hands for them to feel them out, give me their feedback, and then when I've got that done and I know I've ironed out most of the bugs, you know, I'll make 20 of them or I'll make 50 of them, and then I'll see how that goes. And then, you know, if it becomes a popular device, I'll make more of them. If not, I'll go on to the next project, which is this pen, which is it's going to have some really cool stuff that I don't want to tell anybody about yet. So
About how long?
not trying to be a teaser there, but like it's pretty cool.
About how long start to finish does that entire CNC process take from the block to that, just to make one?
Okay, so what you saw there was what they call first operations of 5 parts, and each of those parts comes off of that block and needs some sort of a finishing, because obviously there's something left holding it to the block that's, you know, that edge is going to need to be finished, drilled, faced, whatever, and some may need 2 operations beyond that. But to run those 5 parts on that one block, roughly an hour's operation there. So all in all, probably an hour and a half's operation to complete a machine, hour 45 minutes of just machine time. That's not counting preparing the blocks to go in the machine. It's not counting finish, tumbling, polishing, anodization, assembly, testing, all that stuff. But just the parts.
Testing?
Yeah.
About an hour and a half, and that's me not really trying to rush too hard, because I'm not shooting to push out, you know, 50,000 parts a month and stuff like that. I don't have those aspirations at this point in time.
Sure.
I make a dozen machines and I sell them, and if people like them, it's cool. And if they don't, you know, no big deal. They sit on the shelf until they sell. No big deal.
Yeah, I like the adjustable stainless steel grip. I hadn't, if I have seen those before, I don't remember it, but you know, that's well, I guess, yeah, I guess, I mean, even the original kind of Cheyennes had that when they had the permanent grip, it was sort of adjustable there, but most of the pen styles and everything now have the adjustment kind of built in somewhere to the, you know, to the back of the body of the machine, or maybe in the grip. But I guess I haven't seen what looks like just a traditional, you know, needle bar and, you know, and tube kind of grip that had that type of adjustment. That's cool.
Yeah, well, there's already some out there. FK Irons is one of the first to do that a while back or whatever. Everybody does it now. The idea is coming up with something unique that I don't like to look at other people's products, because I don't want what I see to influence my thought process. Not that they aren't great ideas. They're awesome ideas. There's some really brilliant people out there doing some really cool stuff, but I want my stuff to be as original as it can be, which is, you know, as artists, none of us create original content. Everything we create is based off of everything we've ever seen and experienced. So it's impossible to not be influenced, but I try hard when it comes to like mechanical ideas to do them in my own way, and in a way that I think might be beneficial over the way other people do things. That's all. I'm always looking to make things easier. So.
Right. Will you make disposable versions of that grip that'll fit the machine, or no?
Possibly. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to make these and I'm going to sell some, and I'll probably, like I said, I might run off small batches here and there, 20 or 50 at a time, and sell them as long as people want to buy them. My real focus is on the pen machine that I want, basically because, well, that's where the market's going these days. You know, I mean, everybody wants the pens, loves the pens. Whether I agree or disagree with them is a whole different story, but that's where the market is. But what I like about the pens is, one, it's less parts to make, unless you get really complicated. If you look into Dan's Valhalla, that is probably the most complicated tattoo machine out there as far as internal components and the way it works and stuff like that. It's incredible. Dan's a genius. And but to me, I love Dan. He's a friend of mine. I respect the crap out of him. For me, my ideas are simpler. I want minimal moving parts. I want minimal parts to manufacture. I want the least possible number of problems. It's like once you start adding parts to any moving component like this, every part you add has to have a certain level of what they call tolerances. Parts can't be too tight together and they can't be too far apart or they're sloppy. So you have all those slight tolerances. And the more parts you add into any component, look at a car, all those parts moving together. In the creator's world or the adventurous world, it's become stacked tolerances. Each one of those tolerances stands on top of another tolerance, and it just becomes insanely hard to maintain that like aerospace consistency, over time for making thousands of parts or millions of parts. It's just that is aerospace stuff. I think if I keep things simple, then they're less parts to wear, less parts to break, should be able to be produced at a somewhat little bit of a lower cost, because I'm not needing, I have some pretty high-tech stuff for equipment goes, but there's people out there that produce parts and they have to test, they physically pull like every fifth part that comes off the machine and they send it over to the inspection area for make sure it's within tolerance before they can continue the run. And it's like, it's cool. It's awesome. It's major modern manufacturing. I'm an artist, man. I'm not, I understand that aspect of it, but I don't want to go too far into that. I want to keep it, I don't know. Maybe I'm just lazy. I don't know. It's entirely possible. I just believe in, I believe in my heart that, like, keeping things simple.
As we're getting older, like often it seems like trying to figure out how to do it is always a matter of like simplicity for some reason. It's like, but it seems like it's so difficult. And then when you finally even get onto something that's simple, it's like how to scale that, to do that again and again with multiple people as simple is surprisingly tricky. Jake, does that sound familiar? Like you remember as we were doing the website, you're like, keeping it simple, fucking.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I mean, you end up with so many variables in your head, and then you constantly have to remind yourself, like, I always, always say that no one solves a problem by adding complexity. You have to distill it down to the basic issues, and then you can, build more complexity on top of it. But I've probably said 1,000 times during meetings for all of our relaunch stuff and trying to do these deep dive pages on our website, just progress over perfection. Let's get it out there and make something work as best as it works. People will tell us what doesn't work about it, and then we can refine. But I just don't see any reason to to spend 3, 4, 5 times as much time and energy and get no feedback. You're just like, you spend forever on it and get it out there, and then it still doesn't work the way that you envisioned. So might as well get the easiest kind of lowest hanging problem solved and then get them out in front of people. It's funny. I was just going to say, talking about these about machine stuff in particular, and the idea of the simple machine not having all the mechanisms built in for give and all that. And then Numa Tattoo, I guess it's Carson, just jumped on and said good morning on the fireside. And I was going to bring up, we had that conversation a handful of times about the differences in give in a coil versus a rotary machine, and that they're really not the same thing at all. It's not even, they shouldn't be used, those terms, give and rotary and give and traditional coil, there should be 2 different terms for it. They shouldn't both be called give, because they're not the movement of the mechanism isn't the same. It's the difference in an oscillating movement and a rotational movement. And so to Carson's point, he doesn't like the idea of like artificial or electronic give in a rotary machine, because you're basically just slowing down and increasing the dwell time in the skin, because the motor has to finish that rotation and it just sits in the skin longer with this sort of artificial type of give, and he's a big proponent of using your hand for give, learning, like training yourself to understand how to let off and when to press down, and that role shouldn't be part of the machine at all. It should be a part of the artist.
No, I 100% agree with Carson. I've been saying that for years. Okay, so starting with coils, as we all did forever and a day, they have that natural give built into them. Just because it's there, and just because people have been using it for 100+ years now, doesn't necessarily mean that it is good. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying it doesn't mean it's good. And what it is you're talking 100+ years of people learning to work with the tool that they had available to them. So the human adjusted to the device. Okay, so I mean, it's a crazy, you get into really scientific stuff when you start talking about the speed to enter the skin and the speed to retract from the skin, and, or like you said, a dwell in the skin or a dwell out of the skin. I was working on that stuff, 7-8 years ago. I got some prototype pens around here. I have one sitting here that I did. I'm on the wrong camera, but I did this one. Designed in 2013, 14. I think I built early 15, which actually uses a similar mountain range circular cam or whatever, kind of like what Carson's doing now. And I bailed on that project because let's see. I'm gonna switch cameras here. I would like Carson's input on this too, man. Text me later, but here's, come on, focus. So this is a primitive prototype I did back in, like I said, I think I produced this early 15, and with oh man, I shouldn't be doing that with a black background, huh? Okay, I got a white mouse pad here. This will help, hopefully. So you can, the lighting is going to be a little off on that. I apologize, guys. It's
yeah, I can see it pretty well.
But you can kind of make out the
kind of ramp.
Yeah, kind of like a ramped circular ramp there. But basically, my problem with that was the rotating bearing obviously pushes the plunger down, and then I had to have it's not even in the machine anymore. There was a spring that had to push upwards to keep the cam pressed against the bearing, and I couldn't find the right springs. It put way too much tension on the motor, axial load on the motor, and I walked away from it. And I found other ways to complete that, and I just never got back to it. I found a new method to do this same sort of thing. The whole idea of this was which is what Carson's doing now. I'm glad he's gotten as far as he has with it, because it's cool, because it's bugged me in my brain for a long time. I'm glad it's working for him. But if you could map out the speed of the entry, the speed of the exit, the dwell at the top, how many degrees in the circumference does it take to ramp up, ramp down, all that other fun stuff. I absolutely love that idea. I've nerded out on that for decades. And I want to take that to a whole different level. And I'm going to be doing some work with Aaron Williams from TACCOM.
Yeah.
He blew my mind just when he came up here to the meetup I had in October. He had that high-speed footage of the needles entering and exiting. And I'm like, wow, okay, now on my bucket list, I need one of these high-speed cameras, because I really want to just perform 1,000 studies. I want to study speed going in, speed coming out. I want to study everything, just totally nerd out on it.
There were a few things in that.
Nerd out on it with me too.
Yeah, there were a few things in that video footage. We just recorded an episode with Aaron as well. It hasn't released yet. It'll be out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But he played some of that footage for me, and he's actually planning a trip up here to Memphis, and we're going to do some kind of deep dive stuff with that camera as well. But there were a handful of things that really blew my mind, as far as like the needle penetrating the skin and then moving and penetrating the skin a little ways up, and then it flooding more ink into the previous hole that isn't being, isn't being hit again. And just the way that the kind of like the elasticity and the way that the skin is being pulled is allowing ink to flow backwards into previously poked holes. And I wouldn't have guessed that was possible, but I watched it.
mean,
it's pretty cool.
Okay, just think about it from a basic physics standpoint. Okay, the thing that caught me, which I kind of knew but didn't know or I didn't give any credit to, was the fact that when the needle punctured, the bulk of the ink ends up in the deposit when the needle pulls out of the skin and that vacuum is released. You know, like when you pull your finger out of something it's solid and the air releases, and like that's air rush. That sound is air rushing down into the hole. Well, if the needle's surrounded by ink, there is no air to rush down that hole. The fluid gets sucked into that. So that's what you see in that video. So on the first puncture, needle comes out, vacuum's created, ink gets pulled down in. And now because the holes are so close in proximity that when you start to push down next, you're physically pulling that hole open again.
Right.
And you still have that puddle of pool behind the needle. So as the second one goes down, it's, pulling against the wall of the previous hole, opening it up, and then gravity just takes an effect there, and more ink goes back into it at that point in time. That's the best way I can explain it. And if there's anybody out there that has more working knowledge on the physics of that, definitely hit me up, because I could go with go for some late night scotch drinking conversations about that. Like, because I love that stuff.
It was really interesting to watch. And theoretically I had understood that principle of the vacuum as well, but I didn't really visualize it as affecting, one hole affecting previous holes. But the way you're describing it I think is exactly right. You're kind of pulling that skin open again, that previous hole open again. And so it would literally, like the first puncture, it might, if the hole is this deep, you see the needle travel this deep, it only filled with about that much, maybe a quarter of ink. And then the very next puncture would cause that previous hole to fill the rest of the way with ink. And watching that in real, or in that with that Phantom camera, it just had me scratching my head like, wow, it's crazy to like physically watch it happen. Of course, it was in some type of gelatin and not an actual skin, but the principles I assume are the same.
Right. But yeah, the physics, the skin's going to react in a similar state. It's nothing more than cells, other than different molecules bound together. But one of the big takeaways I had from that video that just threw me a little bit was how far the needle penetrated without depositing ink.
Right.
And it might be due to the material that it was penetrating, because it was just solid, consistent texture all the way down, unlike our skin, which is, layers of different cellular makeup and stuff like that. So I don't think we could perform a test like that on a human and actually physically, maybe a corpse, but Is that legal?
I don't know.
And it is supposedly how was it Sailor Jerry was learning, or Mike Malone, some of those guys would sneak into the morgues.
Cadavers.
But were they dissecting the corpses afterwards, and were they micro slicing cross sections of the skin to see the results? Because that's where you got to go with it. That's the only way to really get to the end result. But then again, if you're tattooing a corpse, it's not the same as tattooing as a live human. So is there an answer to this question?
The one thing along those lines that Sean Bellina of S8 mentioned to me probably 5 or 6 years ago was we were talking about robots tattooing. So this was before everyone was up in arms about AI's drawing our pictures, and we were just talking about the physical act of tattooing and whether or not robots could do a better job. And he was talking about the possibility of putting some type of if you're thinking of a traditional machine, maybe an armature bar, some type of a LiDAR element that could point and make and sit right at the point of where the needle penetrates the skin and make nanosecond decisions on cellular, like tissue damage, optimal saturation, when to get out of there, and literally like fill the skin with ink perfectly with the absolute minimal amount of trauma that no human could ever make happen. And he was like, it could absolutely do that just with the type of LiDAR technology that self-driving car, or not even self-driving cars, but just the same type of technologies that are telling cars that there's an upcoming, or there's a car in your blind spot or whatever. He's like, I could use just that technology and build a machine that tattoos better than you. They're like,
Absolutely.
that's
And
crazy.
it could take into consideration the resistance of the skin, the
Mhm.
density of the skin, the curvature of the skin, you name it. It's all, it could absolutely be done. And I mean, but I think the biggest thing about tattoos is how personal they are, man. The bond between clients and artist is probably equal to, if not more important than the artwork that stands. Just like, I mean, maybe not so much for the masses, but for people that take their art seriously. Like as a tattooer nowadays, you go get tattooed by somebody, you don't even tell them what you want. You're picking the artist, and you're kind of just sort of like, hey man, you know me, and whatever you think fits well in that space, and have a great day with it. And you're going to love it just for who did it, and you're going to love it for the quality of the work, and you add it to your collection. You don't necessarily need to have, you know, full control over that. You know, the older I get, the more I'm learning to relinquish control of everything, to be honest with you. I used to be a absolute control freak. Now I'm only a part-time control freak.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
My coach, strategic coach, says he talks about the rugged individualist mindset, and that almost every entrepreneur that comes into our group has that, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself sort of mindset. And he was like, that makes a really critical assumption that you're really awesome at everything, you know, and the fact is that you're not.
Nope. Oh, there's people smarter than me at everything out there. I just, you know, but, and I've had a tendency, a lot of people around me think I'm a procrastinator all the time. Cause like I said, you know, this has been built for 2 years now almost, and it's not out in production and for sale. And it's like, yeah, I'm kind of a procrastinator, but I'm more of a perfectionist.
Yeah.
I really don't want to release anything into the market that's not 90+%, you know, good. I understand nothing's perfect, but like, I don't want to put something out there and have to make a lot of apologies to people right away either. So that keeps me from taking the last step a lot of times. Like I've invented so many things, and I've got boxes and boxes of prototypes and 3D printed models of ridiculous amounts of things, and they're not good enough for me. So I figure they're not good enough for you. So I know that's not the case. I mean, I see that. I see a lot of mediocre products hitting the market on a regular basis. Not passing judgment, but I mean, it's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's if it does the job, it's great. It's better than what they were using 100 years ago. That's, you know, and so I look at tattooing as like, we can get super, super technical about the details, and we can talk about increasing, decreasing impact and longevity of the needle in the skin to optimize tattoo application and saturation, right? But the Japanese have been doing it for thousands of years, hand poked, and beyond that, and eons before that, and getting the job done. So why do I feel like I'm so special where I need to improve it? You know, I want to. That's just my goal in life. I try and improve most things I come in contact with, but it's not a broken system. It's been working effectively for thousands and thousands of years with insanely primitive tools and pigments and dyes and all that. So yeah, you know, it's like, we're not all that special, you know?
Yeah. And to your point, the idea of being tattooed even faster, better, you know, more efficiently by a machine, by a robot, fundamentally changes what tattooing is, like the experience. It takes one of the key like pillars of tattooing, the client, you know, artist kind of relationship, the sometimes not comforting, but most of the time comforting idea of like the skin to skin, or not skin to skin, but like the physical kind of contact between the two people, the fact that you have to like give up the idea of personal space, you know, when you're tattooing or getting tattooed, and you know, and that the way that the relationships form, you know, from that. Think about whenever you're getting like x-rays at the dentist or at the doctor, and they have to like put you in the room and then they run to the other side of the door, like I'm just visualizing the tattooing happening that way, where it's like, all right, everything, you're good, you're still all right, the inks are all full, all right, I'll catch you later. And then I run outside and the tattoo in the and the robot starts tattooing.
Yeah, I mean, and tattooers are generally like to consider themselves a bunch of hard asses, and and I was definitely in my younger day, but like, if you think about it, I mean, we talk about, oh, we're tattooers / psychologists / whatever, like people come to us to vent and all that other fun stuff, which is awesome that people, just show you that level of trust with their body, with their thoughts and all that other fun stuff. But at this stage in the game, I can tell you, my clients have helped me over the years more than I've probably helped them. I've learned and grown immensely from that contact with those people. So I've learned a lot of how to live better, and I've learned how not to live, all in all. But like, I walked away from it better, like, and it's probably saved me, tens of thousands of dollars in psychiatric care that I probably never would have paid for on my own, or even realized that I needed. Yeah, watching other people struggle. It's weird to say I benefited from it, because you kind of feel a little guilty about that. But all the memorials, everything you do, people come and get tattooed. More often than not, it's a point in their life where they've experienced something, and it's being marked one way or the other. It could be joyous, it could be devastating, but these are the highlights and lowlights of their lives, and they're sharing with us. And if you're not paying attention to your clients, and you're not, understanding that, something's wrong. It's like, not just about exchanging art for money. And in my later years of tattooing, I used to be like, oh, I only want to do backs, I only want to do sleeves, I only want to do, buy stuff, blah, blah, blah. I was that guy for a while. And it got to the end, and I'm like, I don't care. What do you want? What do you specialize in? I try and specialize in giving the client what they want. I just went full circle back to that, because to me, it was more about giving them what they needed, what they wanted. And then, I got money out of it, of course, but the personal interaction was just a win-win. It's like, it sounds corny and spiritual and all that, but that's more important than the art to me at this point in time. Art is just, I still love it, but it's just art. It's a thing, and as you get later in life, you start to realize things aren't everything, so.
Yeah. I've started to make a little bit of that transition. Like you were saying, I focus mostly on projects that I want to take on and large scale stuff. And I don't have a lot of hours to tattoo or to dedicate to tattooing each week. So I need to make sure I'm doing the things that that I feel like I'm best at and that engage me the most. But I started having clients over the last handful of years that are like, hey, I know you probably don't want to do this little thing. We're working on a sleeve. I know you probably don't want to do this tattoo, but could you refer me to someone to do it? And I started thinking like, well, we're there anyways. The needles are out. How long would it take me to do that? We'll just do it during your next session, so you don't have to go pay someone a minimum charge to get that tattoo, since you're already paying a day rate. We'll just knock it out. And that became something that I started doing, and I found that it benefited. Well, obviously it benefits them, because they don't have to go find another tattooer to do a $100 tattoo, but it benefits me in that I got where I wasn't very good at starting and finishing a simple tattoo, because I always can procrastinate, and I always have the next session to develop and refine and that stuff like that. And so I found that just taking on those little tattoos at the start of a session, it made me better and more efficient for the rest of the session on the big tattoo. And it kind of trained me to like get a line in the skin, get a solid fill in the skin, get it finished, so I can get to the project that we're actually here to do today. So it's funny how that became pretty valuable. Just that one little decision became so valuable to both of us.
At the end of my daily tattooing, that's all I wanted to do. I literally would call them masturbatory tattoos. Like, you're in, you're out, you're done, everybody's happy, and that's that. It's like, it's feeling a gratification relatively short period of time, because I know in the end I was getting discouraged with the retail aspect of tattooing. Clients disappearing, they move, they lose their jobs, they die, all those things to inconvenience you. And and it was like, and maybe I hit a rough bout of it, or like I said, maybe I was just getting burned out on the retail aspect of it at that point in time. But I just wanted little tiny tattoos. I physically gave away most of my big clientele to most of the artists that work for me over time. And I won't say like I forced them away, but like I would never tell a client that I needed to be their artist or anything like that. They come into my shop, they get exposed to my art, they get exposed to all my other artists' art, and they appreciate somebody else's art. Go get in their chair, go get a piece or whatever, and then I had this philosophy of hiring people that were equal to or better than me. Well, that turned out to backfire over time because, but actually it worked out in the long run because I got to do more of the randoms, give me the randos, because there's something more enlightening about that to me. And it's not like it's anything cool about the tattoo. It's, I'm not tattooing the same person I've been tattooing for the last 5 years. I know this guy. I know his story. I know his family. I know what he does for a living. I know more about him than his significant other, probably. But you give me a rando, it's a new story. It's a fresh face. It's a, I might learn something new. I might not. I don't know. That to me was, it became enjoyable. Like, I in those days, I wish I probably was just in a busy street shop rather than a shop we had built in to be more custom than street. So our taste changed over time. That's all.
Sure. Yeah.
Always be open to the other, because it might surprise us.
Definitely. Well, we're up at the end of our hour. Do we want to take a couple of minutes and tell people how to find you and keep up with your projects?
Oh, well, sure. Yeah. Sorry I talked all that long, guys. I just
that's the point.
Well, anyways, I'm Mark Lascarvo. I own Needle Jig. If you want to get a hold of me, you can go to needlejig.com. You can give a call to the warehouse if you want to talk to me directly. If I'm in the building, if I'm not in a meeting, I'll always pick up the phone and talk. If you want to email me, it's Mark, M-A-R-C, at needlejig.com. You can see what I'm doing on YouTube. It's YouTube / I think Needle Jig Tattoo Supply. Instagram is Needle Jig. Twitter is, I started 1 million years ago. There's nothing there. Don't go there. Facebook's just Needle Jig. Not that hard to find if you just look up Needle Jig. But yeah, if you want to talk to me personally, or if you like to say, if you have more insight on any of this scientific stuff, or you just want to get down a rabbit hole with me for a little while and talk things out, let me know. I talk a lot.
Yeah, sweet. That was fun. I loved seeing that whole process and watching the kind of CAD stuff, and that's super cool. I didn't know we were going to get to see all that. I do real quickly. We have a new episode coming out this Wednesday, Fireside with Javi from Tattoo Theory. And if you guys don't know Javi, man, he is next level. This guy's a crazy good tattooer. He's also the founder of the Bored to Death Club, an NFT series, and we talk a little bit about that too. But that'll come out Wednesday. Really awesome episode that was done at the Richmond convention last month, 2 months ago. I don't know, sometime recently.
Previously,
right.
In October.
In October, that's right. It was. So we're running. We're kind of slow. I'm like Mark. I'm like Mark. We just film a bunch of stuff and then we just did, and we're like, yeah, I'm not going to put that out just yet. I'll just sit on it. No good reason.
Oh man, my hard drives. I've got stacks of hard drives. If after I die, if anybody wants to go through an archive.
All right. Yeah. Awesome.
Back that stuff up. As a guy who did just personally lose a hard drive, I had majority of my my family's pictures and videos on. I will tell you, guys, spend money for the cloud. Whatever you got to do, back up your hard drives for anything that you hold dear, because it is heart shattering when you lose stuff that just is irreplaceable. So
yeah, definitely.
Well, wholeheartedly back up and save often. I learned that lesson also about every 6 years. Cheers,
Cool.
everybody.
Yeah, man. Good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you, Jake.